Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexia Tassouli. I'm a journalist, and I'm delighted to be here in the second Olympic Forum organized by Delphi Economic Forum. Many special thanks to Mr. Simeon Tsomokos and organized by Patrice newspaper. It is an honor and privilege for me today that we're going to have a conversation with the Ambassador of the United States, Mr. Geoffrey Pyatt. Good evening, Ambassador.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being with me. It's wonderful to be back here in this part of Western Greece.
Yes, indeed. Allow me to start our conversation about the third strategic dialogue in Washington, which was last week. You participated in these meetings. You were there. Can you share with us some of the atmospheres? I mean, how did the Secretary Blinken's meeting went with Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Dendias? And should we expect Secretary Blinken soon here in Athens?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. And the most important thing I would say is that this was an exceptionally productive set of discussions. The atmosphere between the Foreign Minister Dendias, and Secretary of State Blinken could not have been warmer. And the depth of the conversations that took place across a broad range of issues was really quite remarkable, and it reflected how far we've come in the relationship. I know that everybody is committed now to building on that foundation. We already are planning a series of follow-up visits to Washington. The Minister of Citizens Protection will be in Washington next month. Looking forward to that. We're also working on the Minister of Defense's visit before the end of the year. We'll have a series of visits also coming here to Athens because there's a sense that we have arrived at a moment of extraordinary opportunity, and everybody wants to build on that.
Great. Regarding the agreement, the MDCA agreement, have the U.S. position changed regarding the Aegean? If there is a crisis, for example, between Greece and Turkey in the territorial rights of a Greek island,
right.
What your position will be now? Will it be different now since we have an upgraded agreement between the United States and Greece?
So I always try to avoid speculating too much about the future, but what I would emphasize more than anything else is our commitment to our alliance relationship that was reaffirmed last week in Washington, D.C. And in terms of your question about the crisis, we hope we don't get there. The whole point of our alliance, our relationship, is to maintain stability, including in the Eastern Mediterranean region and in the Aegean, which is so geopolitically sensitive. So that's our focus right now.
Okay. President Biden is a very good friend of Greece.
He is indeed.
That. How do you think the U.S.-Greece relations will advance under the Biden and Harris administration?
I think we're going to continue to see rapid acceleration under President Biden, Vice President Harris, Secretary of State Blinken. Secretary Blinken spoke a lot about this with Foreign Minister Dendias last week, emphasizing the president's personal commitment to our alliance, to our relationship, the special relationship that he has with Greece, and the message that has gone out across the administration to continue building, as the president himself put it, the strongest U.S.-Greece relationship the world has ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Since we're now here in Olympia, in this beautiful place, as you said before, can you tell us about the work that the United States are doing here in Western Greece and the investment plans and the investment opportunities you see here? What significance does Greece and the United States hold for the western of Greece?
Sure. Well, thank you for asking. And first of all, I was so pleased to hear Governor Farmakis talk about his investment plans. We've already spoken this afternoon, and we'll follow up on some of the specific opportunities here. We have one of the flagship success stories located in Patras. Advent is a hydrogen energy company headquartered in Boston with its research and development facilities in Patras that perfectly encapsulates both the spectacular human capital that Greece possesses, but also the opportunity for our technology experts to work together in a way that tackles the most pressing challenge, including all the climate issues that the minister talked about so compellingly in his presentation. So that's one aspect of it. It's always special to be here in ancient Olympia. What a spectacular sight this is. Yes. And I'm so excited that Microsoft will soon be launching its project with the Ministry of Culture to make ancient Olympia more accessible through digital platforms. Just a fantastic opportunity. This is, of course, also in many ways, Western Greece is the cradle of the Greek Revolution. And I would emphasize, especially in this bicentennial year, how important the Greek gift of democracy is to my country. It's something that President Biden talks about all the time. We will have a democracy summit in Washington, D.C. At the end of this year, which Prime Minister Mitsotakis will participate in.
Right.
And that will be part of the administration's efforts digitally in this first year to underline our commitment to our democratic values, and so much of that is connected to the Greek bicentennial. I should also note, and again, I spoke to the governor and some of his colleagues, all of us who know this region of Greece were heartbroken by the fires in August, and I'm very proud that tomorrow we will have experts from the U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Agency for International Development coming here to ancient Olympia to work with local authorities to share best practices on issues like reforestation and erosion prevention. They've already been working first in Evia and then in the northern suburbs of Athens, but now they're coming here to ancient Olympia, and I know that will be an opportunity as well. And then finally, I can't be in this region without mentioning Iniojos. We're just a couple of kilometers from Androvida. I think I've been to 4 Iniojos exercises.
That, yes.
It is the most important Air Force exercise in NATO's southeastern flank. It's gotten bigger and more impressive every year. And of course, in April, I had the opportunity to fly over this region in a U.S. Air Force F-16. So I will always remember Iniojos 2021, and I very much look forward to the U.S. Air Force coming back in 2022.
It's a very important exercise in Iniojos, and it's widely accepted from the international community, what's happening there.
And it reflects Greece's unique ability to build bridges. So you have UAE, Israel, Egypt, and many NATO allies, the United States, Italy, UK, France, all participating, all sharing experiences, and building the kind of capacity and interoperability that is the essence of our alliance. So I don't think there's anybody else in NATO that could pull off something so big and so impressive. And I know the US Air Force loves it.
So that leads me to the next question regarding the leading role of Greece, because you have talked a lot about the US support for Greece's leadership in the region, in Peloponnesus and everywhere in the eastern Mediterranean. So can you tell us more about how the United States views Greece as a leader in stabilizing role in the eastern Mediterranean, in Western Balkans, and beyond that?
Sure. Well, this was a big part of our conversation during the strategic dialogue, and Secretary Blinken talked about how impressed he was by the variable geometry of Greek foreign policy today, the success that Greece has enjoyed in building out structures like the 3+1, but not just the 3+1, the expanded relationship with Egypt. The new electricity connection with Egypt is a perfect illustration of how that cooperation is moving from the foreign ministries into the practical operational cooperation. Greece's work with the UAE, very welcome for the United States. Greece's outreach to India, building an arc of cooperation that stretches all the way through the Gulf to the Indo-Pacific region. And then likewise in the Black Sea and Balkan regions, where Greece plays such a critically important role in supporting the U.S. goal of helping all of the countries of the Western Balkans to continue their progress on reform and to continue moving towards Euro-Atlantic institutions and EU membership.
You used a specific word on Monday when you had some conversation with some journalists. You said about changing geometry of Greece's foreign policy and the U.S. supports for Greece's ambitious foreign policy agenda. Can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. With the United States, and especially President Biden's foreign policy, is grounded on the principle of allies and partners. Everything that we want to do in the world, whether it is tackling the pandemic, restoring economic growth, dealing with global climate change, hinges on the strength of our alliance relationships. It is the core of this administration's foreign policy. And our alliance relationships in the Euro-Atlantic community are uniquely strong because we have a 70-year history of cooperation, but also because of the democratic values that unite us. And Greece is a perfect example of that. It's a country which exists on NATO's frontiers, which is deeply committed to Euro-Atlantic institutions. Prime Minister Mitsotakis makes this clear at every opportunity with American political leaders. a country which has emerged from economic crisis and has now demonstrated itself to be a source of solutions. You see that with the Prespis Agreement. You see that in the way that Greece has supported the Abraham Accords. And again, I mentioned the 3+1, but it's also significant that last week when Foreign Minister Dendias was in Washington, he also met with the foreign ministers of Israel and UAE. And we saw it just yesterday when Foreign Minister Dendias and Deputy Foreign Minister Fragouyanis were in Tripoli, yes, reinforcing our shared objective, which is a successful election in December in Libya, the stabilization of the political and security situation, and most importantly, the exit of all foreign forces and mercenaries. And I was so pleased that the foreign minister had the opportunity to coordinate with the American delegation, and this was a rich subject of conversation when Foreign Minister Dendias and National Security Advisor Dokos and Deputy Foreign Minister Fragouyanis were all in Washington last week.
Right. Now, you have talked a lot about how Greece has changed over the last 5 years that you are here in Athens.
It has indeed.
What are the greatest changes you have seen so far, and what are the worst and best moments for you here in Greece?
Oh, boy. Hard questions. So what's changed most importantly, I think, is Greece's emergence from a very severe economic crisis. The confidence that I see today in Greek entrepreneurs and Greek young people simply wasn't there 5 years ago. And I think that is a hugely valuable commodity. You want to hold on to it. And just look at the examples of Greek companies that are succeeding, including in the United States. Advent in Patras is a perfect example. I remember visiting Advent the first time probably 3 or 4 years ago in Patras when they were a small startup with a big idea about hydrogen fuel cells. But now they've had their IPO in the United States in NASDAQ. They are acquiring companies in Silicon Valley. They have become a great success, but their roots are deeply set here in Western Greece. I think also what's happening in the technology space. I mentioned the Microsoft project here at Ancient Olympia, which, as I said, I'm incredibly excited about, but much more important than that is the $1 billion that Microsoft is committing to its cloud computing center in Athens, with other digital companies like Amazon Web Services, Digital Realty following close behind, Pfizer, Cisco, Deloitte in Thessaloniki. There's a whole narrative of American investment, especially in the high technology sector, which goes back with what you and I saw together in Thessaloniki in 2018. And then the way in which Greece, especially with the Western Balkans, has leveraged the Prespis Agreement to open up its role across the wider region of the Western Balkans. I think Deputy Minister Fragouyanis is in Albania today.
Yes, he is.
You see, for all of these countries of the Western Balkans, Greece is a natural and preferred partner, bringing to life the Thessaloniki vision in a way that simply wasn't possible when I first came here. Greece is no longer a problem for the European Union. Greece is a source of solutions, and in fact, a source of great hope. And I will share with you, when I was in Washington last week, many of the senior officials of the Biden administration were also part of the Obama administration. The Greece they remembered from 2016 was a Greece where people worried about the European Troika. They worried about whether the financial system would collapse.
Economic crisis, yes.
They worried about refugees. They look at Greece today and they're amazed by the transformation. And the reputational gains that Greece has enjoyed are really quite significant. You asked about highs and lows. It's so hard to say, and I haven't had time to really total it all up. Certainly one of the highs would have been President Biden's inauguration and the event that President Sakrapoulou and I had together in the Athenian Agora. It was deeply moving for me to be at the birthplace of our democratic values at a moment when Americans reclaimed their own democracy. That was a very powerful moment for me. I'll also always remember, the opportunities that I've had to work with our military. I mentioned my F-16 flight already, and boy, there is nothing more impressive than watching a senior U.S. pilot and a senior Greek pilot fly together. everybody's seen the Top Gun movie, but it's a whole different experience to do it in real life. So I'll always remember that. I'll always remember Prime Minister Mitsotakis's visit to Suda Bay and to our aircraft carrier, along with Minister Paniatopoulos. It was very important that we did that on the eve of Greece's bicentennial, cementing our partnership. Here's one. I will always remember the moment when Albert Bourla was sitting on my patio at the residence in the summer of 2000 and told me that they had just gotten the first test results for the vaccine. And he was confident that the vaccine was going to work, which, again, it gets me all choked up because you think how hard that year was.
So you have a lot of best moments here in Greece.
A lot of memories, yeah. I should know better than to talk about this stuff on camera.
Sorry.
But anyway.
Okay, I'm glad that you have so many good moments in Greece. So my last question is about the future, about your future. The White House recently announced the nomination for a next ambassador of Greece. Mr. Tsounis was the name that he said. What about the future plans for you?
Oh, no, well, thank you for asking. I think the best I can say for now is we have to ask the Oracle. So maybe wait for the Delphi Forum, and we'll see what happens by then. But no, I am committed, first of all, to working as hard as I can in the months of my tenure that remain. And there's a lot that we still want to do to build on the momentum that we got from Foreign Minister Dendias's visit. And then once Mr. Tsounis is confirmed by the Senate, I will work as hard as I can to help position him to build on all that we've accomplished, because this has been a period of extraordinary growth in the U.S.-Greece relationship. And I know that the whole embassy team is committed to capitalizing on that success and continuing forward.
We hope to see you and stay as long as possible here in Athens, because you've proved your commitment in advancing U.S.-Greek relations, and we hope to see you in the Delphi Economic Forum next year.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great to see you. Thank you.